Livy, Urbe Condita, Episode 10. Aeneas adversus tanti belli terrordrem ut animos abardriginum sibi conciliaret, nec sabeodem iure solum, sed etiam nomine omnes essent, Latinos utramque gentem appellavit, nec deinde abardrigines, Troianis studio ac fide erga regem Aeneam cessere. Aeneas adversus terrordrem. Adversus is a preposition which patterns with the accusative case. It is a similar word as contra, which is also a preposition with the accusative, but the connotation is slightly different. Whereas contra means opposition, adversus sometimes means opposition and sometimes means response. Here the idea is response. Aeneas, in response to, or as a counter to the fear, the terror of such a great war, tanti belli, neuter, singular, and genitive, ut, purpose clause, in order that he might conciliaret, win over the minds of the native inhabitants, aboriginum, animos, masculine, plural, and accusative, that he might win over the minds of the native inhabitants, this genitive, to himself, sibi, and sibi is going to be masculine, singular, and dative. It's a reflexive. All the forms of sui, nominative missing, sibi, dative, se, accusative, and se, ablative, have reference to the subject of the verb in the clause where this word appears, such a word appears. So sibi, since Aeneas is the subject, refers to him. That he might win over the minds or the hearts, animos, of the native inhabitants to himself, and not only nec solum, under the same jurisdiction, sub eodem iure, under the same rule or jurisdiction, but also under the same implicit name, that all might be, omnes essent. So ut here has two subjunctive verbs, first conciliaret in this purpose clause, and secondly essent. We are to understand the nec here as patterning adverbially with solum, nec solum sed etiam. So in order that he might win over their minds to himself, and that all might be not only under the same jurisdiction, but even under, or also under the same name, appellavit, he called, or he named, both nations, utramque gentem Latinos, the Latins. So gone is the name Troiani, and gone is the name aborigines. Instead, now we have just this one name, Latini. So Aeneas, then, is the subject of the verb appellavit. And this is a nice periodic sentence, a nice period that Livy has composed. Nor, deinde, from that point on, did the aborigines, the native inhabitants, cessere. This is the perfect of the verb cedo, cedera, third conjugation verb, the third principal part of which is cessi, and so the unabridged form of this third plural perfect is cesserunt, like so. And as Livy has done before, he uses here what is generally considered a poetic form. It is an indicative verb. Nor thereafter did the aborigines, the native inhabitants, yield or come in second to the Trojans in their devotion and their loyalty toward King Aeneas. Erga, preposition with the accusative, and Aeneam in apposition to regem. Studio and fide are in the ablative. The one is neuter, the other is feminine, and they are ablatives of means.